but for myself, I'm not that good at it. So I don't know. I just wanted to say that. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Master Jim, did you have your hand back up?
Yes. Just when you said for specifics and tasks, one of the very first tasks that I set my girls is I have them write down 10 good things about them. Now, when I say that off my tongue, that sounds simple until you actually sit down to do that, write 10 good things about you. And once I've agreed with them on 10 good things, I'll have them morning and night say the 10 things to themselves 10 times. 10 times in the morning, 10 times in the evening, and they'll do that for 10 weeks. This task, this goal, is set on the strategy that, as every psychologist knows, if someone tells you enough times that you're a bad person, you will start believing you're a bad person. So this is designed to be the reverse of that. That if you tell yourself enough times that you're a good person, a good positive person, and you do that long enough, then you'll come out of that task as a good positive person and ready to carry on, getting bigger goals and moving on and more personal development. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So, all right. I would like to ask the group what strategies you find the most effective. So we heard about SMART, which here realistic and attainable are part of SMART. Can anyone share experiences where you faced and overcame challenges to achieving a goal? Okay.
Hey, thank you. So I just want to say what kind of strategies I follow to achieve my goals are remind myself about the goals that I wanted to achieve in the first place. Um, like Master Jim told that we need to hear people talking good things about us and so on. It's actually very true. What I used to do is if I back in my past when I had a lot of different goals, I had this tendency of just forgetting about it. So I started telling my goals to my close ones, like my best friends and my family people and all that. So that really helped me to kind of always know what were my goals at the starting of the year, and people around me also kept a note of my goals. Like they constantly reminded me. For example, um, I decided to stop eating outside, a lot of junk foods and all that. So even if I was about to go eat something bad, they reminded me about my goal of not eating outside and so on. So sharing your goal with your close ones, if it's shareable, share it. If it's not shareable, probably write it on a piece of paper, have it on top of your bed, on the door of your restroom, so that you will always see no matter what, and you yourself will remind about what you actually want to do at that particular time of your life.
Thank you. I really like that. What it reminds me of is the idea of what we call accountability partners, right? Like telling someone about it in a way like makes me accountable, right? Like I give someone that ability. I'm like, I'm telling you this, you can check in with me, you can call me out if I don't do it. Like, and that I have done that in my life, and I do find that that is effective. And I also have to have like the nerve to want to do it. So like to make myself accountable to other people to get things done. Um, yeah, I, exactly, Madeline. Erlene?
Trying to do two things at once does not work. Because I was looking at Madeline's thing and I was definitely agreeing with it, and I was also trying to find the mute button. Yeah, I find I'm not officially diagnosed with ADHD. I just over relate to everyone who's ever talked about it and the symptoms and everything. So I started acting in a way of somebody of like, I don't want to say coping mechanisms, but ways to work with my brain for it in terms of setting goals and stuff. And so one of the things I started to do was put certain goals on like every calendar I have. Put it and not like necessarily the overall goals, even though sometimes I'll color code it. When I get into hyper focus, I create a whole beautiful mind system. But I might color code what a goal is for me, overall goal, and put steps needed to do that in my calendar. So it has to constantly remind me. Otherwise, I'm very much squirrel, and that will be the end of that goal. And then I I used to I used to want to do accountability partners. And then I kind of got traumatized by it. Because, and I guess for people who've been to this meeting before, and it won't be a surprise, my mom kind of like took that and ran with it. And then I was just a failure for everything if I didn't succeed in that accountability. So I was like, I'm not telling anyone any of my goals ever again. Um, but I found like, yeah, I find that putting up a piece of paper, post-its, definitely around my apartment, putting it in my calendar. So like it will remind me or pop up. And even I use that more for my personal life and goals than just my career goals. So like people who I want to cultivate relationships with, I might put in a reminder to call them, or like important things that are important to them that's coming up to check in on a goal that they had. I put that in my calendar so I can like reach out to them and make sure that they know I care and I didn't just forget them, because otherwise I am very, very prone to that.
Awesome. I was looking at the chat, right? People talking about the couple of things, River and Sapio Soul. We're talking about things. And one of the things that is true for me is the word goal for me is not loaded. But I have had to be very careful about like rigidity, right? Like, for instance, around things that I think around things that have a potential for black and white thinking, right? Like, let's say I decide I want to do something with my weight or my eating or my food. I absolutely have to treat it like a suggestion, like an idea, like something that if I start to get up into like it has to be a certain way and I have to do like I can't diet. Like something that's a prescribed diet, I absolutely can't do. It's a setup for failure for me. It's a setup for feeling miserable. I just can't, right? So I stopped doing that a long, long time ago because I would go crazy in my head with stuff. Like it brings up latent anorexic tendencies. It brings up fanaticism. It brings up a sense of failure. So there's certain areas where for me, there's a difference between like making rules for myself or doing things rigidly versus what I'm hoping is going to start to happen as I come out of this conversation and I start to go forward just with my life in general, that goals will be a softer sort of a thing. There'll be softer edges around the idea of things I might want to accomplish, how I might do that, and these bite-sized pieces, making things like this SMART thing seems really helpful. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Kieran?
I have to use tools. I had to find tools to get stuff out of my head, Kat, like you were talking about. Like, one of them was numbers, financially, to accomplish projects and that. And I've been using this particular budget app for probably 2.5 years now, and it's gotten the numbers out of my head. Still haven't quite met all of my financial goals yet, but I had to rethink it. And then as far as food, I cheat, but I have a tool called MyFitnessPal that I track my food, and I eat a lot too. So just I had to find, and of course I live off, I live off my calendar. Like, okay, I look at it once a week and I'm like, let me plug in everything I need to do. I tend to be very methodical. Even with work, I'm like very methodical. I look at the due date and I calculate the amount of time I need to take, and I just do a little bit every day. Um, for a project. So I just tend to be very methodical with those tools. Like there's so many apps out there now that are helpful that they have they've gotten the crap out of my head, so I'm not like ruminating about upon everything and forgetting things and missing out. So there's just a ton of tools, and as far as goals go, I try not to set any more. It's similar to presentations. I don't like to do any more than 3 bullet points or 3 goals at any given time, because it becomes too entirely overwhelming, and it's hard to retain the information, let alone apply it. And so I pick at the most 3. Sometimes it'll only be 2, but so I keep it. I like to keep it simple. I'm all about simplicity. Tend to be a minimalist as well. Um, but I think the tools have been the biggest help for me in getting shit out of my head.
Cool. Thank you. A promise?
I think I'm the opposite of you, Kieran. I eat like a crocodile. I get one big meal and then I forget to eat for a few days. Um, um, as far as goals, I do have a bit of a phobia of not meeting them, and I do get dejected when I don't meet them. So I try to keep them the kind of goals where I wouldn't be too disappointed if I didn't get the achievement unlocked, so to speak. I do have that fear pretty badly.
Hmm. I get that. I do think even in the short term. Oh, Danielle, go ahead.
No, it's okay. You go.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, as I'm thinking about it, like I do lists. If I sit out if I sit in the morning and I think about like what do I need to do today, and I make a list, I have a much greater likelihood of like clicking things on. Like I love nothing better than to make lists so I can cross stuff off and feel accomplished. I don't know if that has anything to do with goal setting, but it's very gratifying to do that just on the daily. So Danielle, you go now.
I was going to say I have a great, strong work ethic, and anything like any kind of project that I can frame to look like work, I'm there. I'm Johnny on the spot. I'm getting it done. It's like we're 6 months away and all we have to do is pull the trigger. I'm real good like that. But then when it comes to anything in the way of like creating anything, I like personally, not in a work environment, I go through
Are
like
you
a
gonna go for dinner?
crazy period where I can't get it to the, like I get so close to the end and then I'm just like, oh no, I've lost interest. And that is something that I struggle with. Not with work, obviously, or anything that I can frame to be similar to a work setting, but with like anything else I'll create. I get almost to the end and I'm like, oh my God, I'm completely over this and I'm not going to meet my goal of being done with this rather than almost done with it. And then I'll do like a slap job at the end. I don't know why I do that, but it drives me insane. And I wish there was something like I feel like I'm so sick of creating this one thing for so long. And then I'm like, I'm fucking over it. And then I'm like, oh God, I'm not going to fucking meet this goal.
Yeah, I feel that. Does anybody else have find that there's a difference between their personal goals and their professional goals in terms of setting them, keeping them, accomplishing them? Ren, you're nodding your head, but your hand's not up.
Absolutely. I'm Danielle, I'm right there with you. Work stuff. This is what you got to do. You do it. But personal, it has to be something very specific, and I think this very specific things personally, I don't like write down a goal or anything, but like projects. I'm like, okay, so you don't have the money this week. Okay, this is done, but it's not done when you get the money. It's it's just never done. Or different things like that. I'll carve out time to do something and I don't get it all done, then it just stays undone. Or I try to like hurry up and and finish it up. But yeah, but professionally, as far as work and stuff like that, I am on it. It's done to the best of my ability. Unless I absolutely have to, I do not wait till the last second. Same way with school, but because I take that as a job, so
Yeah, I did the same thing when I was in school. Danielle, is your hand back up or was it still up?
Yeah, it's back up. Is
Okay,
that
cool.
okay?
What's up? Yeah.
The writing down thing, yeah, that's never going to work for me because now every time I see it, it pisses me off that it's not finished, and so it gets removed and thrown in the garbage. As well as, even though I do believe my wife will definitely hold me accountable for my fuckery because there's a lot of it. But she also does it in exactly how I need to hear it. Like if you come at me and you're like, excuse me, you're being fucking lazy, I'm gonna tell you to go fuck right off. But if you're like, she'll come out and she'll be like, seriously, I literally cannot believe that you're still doing this. You're gonna be so pissed at yourself. And I'm like, she's not fucking wrong. And I'm mad at first, of course, because I can't also take constructive criticism for shit. And I'm mad at first. And I'm like, how dare you? And then I'm like, she's fucking right. And then I get on it. But if you're talking about somebody else telling me and holding me accountable, that would never work for me. that would not work well for me or that friendship or relationship.
It's fair. Kay, give me 1 second. I want to address a couple things in the chat. I have no idea what bullet journaling is, and so I would love to hear about that. And getting things done is life-changing. If you don't know, if you've never had that book or you don't know anything about that, I highly recommend getting it. I don't do all of it, but doing the initial sweep, the way it describes, and setting up filing cabinets, and I have my label maker. I like it. It's a big deal. It makes a big difference in terms of being organized, getting stuff out of my head, having a way to do that. So yeah, I'm totally all about that. Kay.
All right. So for me, the difference between my professional and personal goal, this is how I see it. Mostly all of my professional goals are all considered as a short-term goal. My personal goals I always consider my personal goals as a long-term goal, because the time with my work and my employer is very short, and it has a lot of deadlines, and that is what usually pushes people to finish it off and to give all the time and effort to just finish it off. It's not the money, it's not the job that we're doing, but it's just the pressure that we have around that specific short-term goal. And all the personal goals, we tend to take privilege of our own time, thinking that I have a lot of time to achieve my goals. Sometimes we even forget it. So mostly, this is how I see it. Personal goals are long term. Professional goals are short term. And also, whenever I'm working on my personal goals, I have this habit of breaking my goals into very smaller pieces. I do that because I follow this concept called Magic 21, and it says that if you do something and repeat the same thing again and again and again for 21 days, it kind of becomes a subconscious habit instead of it will make you feel like it's a habit for you instead of making you feel like you have to go get up and do the same thing again. The best example that I can give is a kid learning how to brush the teeth and how to do basic maneuvering movements, walking, and so on. So that's how I do it. I break my long-term goals to short-term goals, so that I can follow Magic 21.
Nice. Yeah, because one of the other questions here is about striking a balance between setting long-term and short-term goals. Cosmo.
I'm wondering like what the difference is between goals and tasks. Because some people were talking about like making lists so they can like cross stuff off. And I'm like, wait, no, I do that. But I've never thought of that as like goal setting. So I just thought that I like don't set goals. I don't know. What are people's thoughts?
I can see that I get that confusion for facts. Yeah, Kay?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I'm not sure if I can give you the right examples, but I always have this perspective. I always think that if we want to achieve something, it can be a dream or it can be a goal, it can be a task. If we want to do something, we have to have discipline. If we fail to have the discipline, that's what makes us feel like, oh damn, I missed it. Even though I wrote that on a piece of paper, I actually did not do that. It makes us feel bad. So for me to achieve something, for me to complete anything, I don't want to call it task or goal, for me to complete anything, for me to complete a process, I always first sit and think, what are the small tasks that I need to do? For example, if I have to go to the shop today, I need to know if I have the time to go to the shop. I need to choose, how am I going to reach there to go to the grocery store? Am I going to walk? Am I going to drive a car? Am I going to use a bike, or so on? So all these very small things that I want to say the necessary things are tasks. And if you complete all the necessary tasks on a process, what it gives you towards the end as a result will eventually be the goal that you wanted to achieve at the first time or the first place. And that's how I see it. I think I answered it, but this is how I see it personally.
Nice, thank you.
Yeah, I was gonna just say that was like a good way of explaining it. And I think now um I'm thinking about how like the goal is the destination and tasks are the journey.
Yes, I like that a lot. Bullet journal, I gotta write that down for later.
You can have my bullet journal. I tried it for like 2 weeks and I didn't get through it. But I got
All right,
the
I won't
highlighters, I
get
got
one.
the pens and everything. You can have it.
I'll wait till I see you again. Cool. Kieran.
I guess it just occurred to me that it's kind of like project management. You have an objective that you need to meet, but within project management, when you're laying it out, you have individual tasks like that. Some of them are are contingent on others that you need to complete in a certain timeline, and then you have benchmarks or milestones. Okay, I've completed these 3 tasks, so this phase is done towards this objective. Does that make sense whatsoever? So to differentiate between objectives versus tasks, like here's a great example I can speak to with political campaigns. You want to do a mail out before the election, so you would look at the election day, and then you work backwards as to, okay, what do I need to do between now and then, and at what points do I need to hit that milestone to achieve that goal before election day? And I'm only using that not to be political, but because it's just part of my background. But I always work, and I do, and that's the way I operate now at work when I facilitate projects and stuff like that. Is like, okay, and then also with that, I learned how to give grace, not only in the work environment but in my personal self. I kind of buffer in a little bit extra time. For people are human and people have lives, things come up. So there needs to be some latitude on and flexibility with the timing, and if you fuck up and you fail for a day, okay, you try again tomorrow. And that's learning grace for yourself. But anyway, I was thinking about project management.
Yeah, I like that. What I was hearing people say is objectives, goals, targets, are all kind of the same, in the same like sort of category, whereas tasks and, you know, steps, bite-sized chunks are like the way that we get there, which is a really helpful way to look at the whole big picture.
So
Danielle?
you can look at it like a vision versus the details.
Yeah.
Like you guys do it all the time when you were standing up King Collective and the Sanctuary. I would assume you did. Like, you know,
Listen, when it comes to my work, all I do is I just like put my head down and try to get everything done. I have no idea if it's an objective or a task. I just, that's why, and that's the difference between like working for myself, right? It's just like, I just gotta go until I get it all done.
you just like go.
So,
Go
yeah,
time.
so that's why I want to become a little bit more thoughtful about all of it, which is why we're having this conversation. Thank you all for indulging me, as you do every week. Indulge me. Danielle?
Phoenix said in the chat, I can't even remember what he said now. He said that completing tasks
Leads to achieving goals.
Nope. It keeps going, sorry. Yes. And that is, I find that these tasks that I'll do at home, like creating something, I do make it into smaller pieces because I can't just explode it all at once. So I'll make it into smaller pieces, running the steps through my head of what it has to do and what I have to do with it or whatever. And then, but I always wind up at that end point where I'm just like, I think that it's not with everything that I create, it's with a lot of things that I create. And I feel like putting it out in steps is so much easier to achieve all of it and get it really solidified, is to follow those steps that I know I have to take,
Yeah.
that I always skip some of them.
That's some of what comes up in that getting things done that we referred to earlier. They talk about the difference between like to do things, like they have to be super specific. Like it has to be a particular thing. It can't be something, because that's something that I've gotten gets me hung up. Like I need to do a general thing. It doesn't tell me what the next step is. So I keep like inundating myself with all these general things I need to get done. And then I go around in circles and I don't get anything done. It's like, I got to break it down into what is the very step for each exact thing. Then I can move forward.
And if there's not a next step, I'm so stuck on it. I'm mulling it over for fucking hours, thinking about all the possibilities that I now need to prepare for because I don't know the fucking next step. It drives me insane. And that loop, it's the worst.
Yeah. Agreed. Arlene?
I was gonna say one, like, I don't want to say actual, but one like method I also do, because sometimes like it doesn't matter how I write it down or like if I don't have like the motivation to get it done right then, sometimes it just falls apart. So one thing I like force myself to do is the Pomodoro technique, which is basically kind of like almost a rewards built system into it. So basically how you do it is you'll say, this is the task that needs to be done. No matter what happens, this needs to be done. And so what you'll say is, I'll do 40 minutes, I'll work on it, and then 20 minutes, I'll give myself a reward for succeeding, for continually working on those 40 minutes. And you kind of repeat it through the day. I use that a lot when I for like cleaning my house, or like stuff that I was just like, I know it has to be done, or like this is going to get me to this overall goal, but this section right here, I don't want to. So like that's kind of like one of the active techniques I use for like achieving certain goals, or at least working through the list to get through to certain goals.
Awesome. One of the things I was thinking about that just came back to my head, and I also relate, I think it was you, Arlene, who said like, I don't have an ADHD diagnosis, but I certainly relate to all my friends who do. If I'm alone in the house and I have a lot of stuff to do, I do much better if I have 4 or 5 things going at one time. And when I hit a wall with one thing, I go work on the other thing. And then when I hit a wall there, I go back and work on something different. And the overall doing of that, by the time I get to the end of the day, I look back and I'm like, wow, I got a lot done today. Whereas if I just try to stay focused on one thing and keep pushing and pushing, I like burn out and I can't, it feels like I got nothing done. So sometimes, I mean, people might call it multitasking, people might call it like chaos management. I have no idea. All I know is like, but I have to kind of be alone because otherwise I look like a whirling dervish. Like I'm in my house, or like I'm putting laundry away over here. I'm sitting at my desk here. I'm like, I don't feel comfortable like functioning like that, like if people are around me. But it is an effective strategy. And I don't know if that's because I should get an ADHD diagnosis, but I do find that helpful. Danielle?
I am diagnosed, and that's exactly what happens, is that it's like 5 different things need to be happening. I actually need to clean the whole bottom floor of my house at the same time. And I need to do this, and then I will move to another room and do this, and then I will move to another room. And it has to be like that because the one at a time thing, no, because the second I pick something up to put it in its home, God forbid it's in another room, and there I am cleaning out the closet, and I'm like, "Oh, this works too." And then I'm in the kitchen, and I'm like, "Well, that's up where it does need to be organized, so I might as well get at it." And I just want to say, as somebody who's constantly breaking their own goals, in my personal life, I also am not hard on myself anymore about it. I don't rip myself to shreds anymore because I hear what I'm saying and it's fucking disgusting what I'm saying to myself about a stupid fucking goal. Are you serious? I'm like, meanwhile, I can name 1 billion other things that are amazing in my life, and this goal is going to take me down? Absolutely not. I no longer rip myself to smithereens. I don't do that.
Yeah. That's solid. Like I try not to rip myself to shreds about anything because nobody is harder on me than me. And it's been a journey to try to pull myself up out of that, to treat like if I ever heard anyone speak to anyone else the way I speak to me, I would shut that down so fast. But I apparently have no problem talking to myself in the worst of terms. Even at a level that I don't even hear. It's like a background
Yeah,
noise of just
for
negative
sure.
chatter. So there's been a lot
My
of
wife
work
says to me my
for me
wife used to
lately.
say to me all the time, she's like, "Oh my God, can you stop being so mean to my wife? Like, what the fuck is wrong with you?" The things that I would say, I'm like talking to myself, of course, out loud. And she would absolutely say that. And I was like, oh my, like, why am I when I can just simply stop talking about myself that way to myself and stop pissing myself off? Like, I'm doing this to myself. This is all self-inflicted here. This has got to stop. But yeah, I'm fucking horrible to myself, but I don't do that anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, it's important. I think it's important to walk out of that. At whatever point in your life you figure it out. I mean, like, let's see. How do you celebrate the achieving of goals? Anybody have any things that they do for themselves that like uh that they use to celebrate short-term goals, long-term goals? I see we're a bunch of celebrators here. Lace dances, I like that. Well, all right. So I don't know if anyone has suggestions on how to not beat ourselves up because we're not very good at celebrating ourselves, apparently. Um, yeah, Phoenix.
So I think positive affirmations help a lot with that. Sorry for the ambulance.
We're good. I can't hear it.
So yeah, I think like you could do daily affirmations helps a lot. Just having personal mantras that you repeat for yourself. And somebody mentioned something similar earlier about, keeping it positive with yourself and reminding yourself of the goals that you accomplished and just keep things positive and remind yourself, what you can do and just keep, repeating that. It's conditioning and you repeat whatever it is. And you can also like, if you do it with intention, you could like, that's how you can really manifest real things, actually.
Cool. Sounds like that Magic 21, right? If you do something often enough, it becomes a habit.
I don't know what that is. Did I miss that?
Someone shared it earlier. I don't know if you were on the call when
No, I
someone
must have
talked
missed
about
that.
it.
Was it early?
Doing something 21 days in a row.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
training.
Yeah. Master Jim?
Yeah, this whole goal setting thing, you've got to be realistic about it. You got to, if you're good at doing Lego, don't suddenly say, I know, I'm going to become a surgeon. Just be realistic about your capabilities, what you can do. Start very small and build up to bigger goals. Get good at little things to get you the confidence to go on. As for celebrating, I have always found it very successful to take my girls by the hand, look them right in the eyes, and say, "Good girl." It's always been good reward I've found. That certainly puts a smile on their face. Thank you.
Awesome. Run?
Sometimes what I've done is if I have a very specific goal that I want to meet, and there's something that I really want, sometimes I'll make that the reward for meeting a goal. If I do this, then I will allow myself kind of a double thing, getting through the goal and then getting through the goal and getting something I really want. So I've done that before.
That's cool. I'm so self-indulgent. Like I don't even know how to like have something I want and then hold off to give it to myself until I accomplish something. That's something I might want to look into. So we have just a couple minutes left.
I think you can find that under self-care.
Well, there you go. That's true too. Sorry, I'm busy reading the chat. There's a whole conversation going on in the chat. Nice. Yeah. I think big goals like that, what Sapio Soldier said about quitting smoking, right? Like that's a huge accomplishment that deserves rewards for sure. So congratulations, no matter how long ago that was. So let's see. I'm gonna take, oh, Cosmo.
Someone asked about tips to not beat yourself up. I would struggle before with like negative self-talk. It can help to like ask people to point it out to you when you're doing it. Like you can say, "Hey, I'm working on this. Can you please point out to me when I'm like saying negative shit about myself?" And then I think you become more aware of the fact that you're doing it to begin with. And then you're like, "Oh shit, okay." Yeah, that was helpful for me.
Yeah, I agree with that. A lot of it is awareness, right? For me, unfortunately, most of my negative self-talk is silent. So there is nobody to call me out on anything because I don't say it out loud. It's like that, just that chatter, that like just below the surface chatter. Like I'm the one who has to catch it because I don't say it out loud anymore. But that doesn't make it any better. Like it still needs to be something that I stop. Okay, well, we just have a minute or two left. Next week, we're going to be talking about navigating life transitions. We've talked about that in various ways. We've talked about grief. We've talked about, different sort of things. but I want to talk about navigating any of the life transitions. There's so many of them, right? Like changing a job, having a child, moving somewhere across country, people who are close to us dying, babies being born. There's all kinds of life transitions. And so we'll have a chat next week about how we navigate those. And then tonight, the Uncovered Conversations at 9 p.m., they're going to be talking about non-sexual rewards in power exchange dynamics. Yes, retirement. So those are the topics that are coming up. We did go ahead and make the topics for April already, but I'm still always looking for suggestions. Like, you know, I feel like this is a luxury, right? Like I make up topics and then you all come here and talk with me about them. It's like, this is like the best hour of the week for me. But you're welcome to do that too. If there's something you want to have everybody show up and talk with you about, just send me the topic and I'll set it up. We can do them every week. I'm happy to hear from you guys about what you want to talk about or what you want to hear other people talk about to help you out with. So, well, that's our hour. That went fast tonight. I'm glad for those of you who are new, Sapio Soul, thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed the chat. Yeah, we're here every week. So far we've been really lucky. We haven't had a lot of bad problems. So the Zoom link stays the same. You don't have to find it from anywhere. Once you have it, like you can use it every week. And we're here every week, 6 p.m. Eastern time. So thank you all very much. Have a wonderful week and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care, everyone. Bye.
Thank
Have a good week,
you,
everybody.
Master Jim. It was nice to see you again. Thank you.
Great to see you, Master Jim, always. Take care.
Always good
Say hi
to
to the
see you.
girls. Thank you.
They're all
Kat.
doing good, thanks. Will do.
Glad to hear, sir. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Oh, bye, Mr. Butterscotch.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Kat. This was the
Thank
first
you,
time. It was
Cam.
very nice.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
And thank you for everything you had to contribute. I appreciate that.
No problem. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.